باب العمل في المسح على الخفين. Number 40, قصد number 40. حدثني يحيى عن مالك عن هشام بن عروة أنه رأى أباه يمسح على الخفين. قال وكان لا يزيد إذا مسح على الخفين على أن يمسح ظهورهما ولا يمسح بطونهما. وحدثني عن مالك أنه سأل ابن شهاب عن المسح على الخفين كيف هو، فأدخل ابن شهاب إحدى يديه تحت الخف والأخرى فوقه ثم أمرهما. قال يحيى قال مالك وقول ابن شهاب أحب ما سمعت إلي في ذلك. نعم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Chapter the working on wiping over the feet. Yahya narrated from Maalik on the authority of Hisham ibn Urwa radiallahu anhu that he saw his father wiping over his leather socks. He said he used to add to the wiping over the leather socks, but wiping the apparent part of them. He did not wipe the bottom part of his leather socks. And Yahya narrated from Maalik that he asked the son of Shihab, rahimahullah, about the wiping of the leather socks. How did he perform it? The son of Shihab put one of his hands under the leather socks and the other hand over it. Then he wiped them. Yahya rahimahullah said, Maalik rahimahullah said, the saying of Ibn Shihab is the most beloved of what I heard concerning that matter.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the last lesson, we have taken the ahadith about wiping upon the leather socks, and in the light of hadith of Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah, wiping upon the socks, whether they are woolen or made of cotton or made of any other substance, as long as they cover the feet, they are allowed to be wiped upon as well. Now here this chapter, that is Babul Amal, and how people in Medina used to do. And here Imam Malik had mentioned the case of Urwa, and his son Hisham is narrating it, and he said that whenever he used to wipe upon the leather socks, he used to do it on the upper part of it. Now just to understand these two terms, so I am not going to repeat the English translation. The upper part is called Zahar. Zahar, that is, which one is apparent? Zahara, from Zahara, to be obvious. So that is Zahar. And the bottom part is Batn. Batn, as you know, is the belly. So the bottom part of the feet, that is Batn. And he says that he used to do it on Zahar, not upon Batn. That is the case of Urwa. And then he asked Ibn Shihab, and when we say Ibn Shihab, Muhammad ibn Shihab, he is better known with Az-Zuhri. Az-Zuhri, Imam Az-Zuhri, among the successors. Imam Az-Zuhri, his practice was to do it on both sides, on the upper part, which is Zahar, and on the bottom part, which is Batin. And then Imam Malik says that the saying of Ibn Shihab is more beloved to me. أَحَبُّ مَا سَمِعْتُ إِلَيَّ فِي ذَلِكَ. In all narrations which I have heard, this saying is most beloved to me. Now let us take a summary of this issue. Now the summary of this issue, we can say that there are three opinions. First, and which may be very rare opinion, just to wipe on button, on the lower part. Just to wipe on button, that is a very, very rare opinion which is attributed to some companions of Imam Shafi'i. The next one is the one which we have just taken, the opinion of the opinion of Az-Zuhri. opinion of Zuhri, that you have to wipe it on Zahar and on Batn. Both on upper and bottom part. And the third opinion, which is the opinion of Jumhur, that is just to wipe it upon the upper part, which is Zahar. Only the upper part. So these are the three opinions. Now let us take the evidence for them all. As far as the first opinion is concerned, just to do it on the bottom part, that got no basis in Sunnah. This is only rational, that because the bottom part of the feet is always touching the ground, so it should be wiped. That is something rational only. So that is there is no other evidence apart from that. The second opinion, which is to do it on Zahar and Batn both, we have just taken it. It is the opinion of Imam Malik and Az-Zuhri. So if a person did not do on both parts, on the upper part and the bottom part, Imam Malik is saying that this person should repeat his prayer within the time. If he remembered within the time of the prayer that he did not do proper masa, he did not do upper part and lower part, so he should repeat the prayer, if it is within the time. But if it is not within the time, then of course what has happened. He should not bother about it. And that is also the opinion of Abdullah ibn Umar. And it is based upon the hadith of Al-Mughira, because there are two narrations of Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah. One narration says that he saw the Prophet ﷺ wiping upon the upper part and the lower part. يَمْسَحُ ظَاهِرَ الْخُفِّ وَبَاطِنَهُ. But this hadith according to the research of Ibn Abdul Barr, there is a weakness in that hadith. So this is why we have to take the other hadith, which says the hadith of Al-Mughira, which is coming under the third opinion. So anyhow,
you say that Imam Malik's opinion was based upon the hadith of Al-Mughira.
Yes, Al-Mughira, but he says that I have heard it from Zuhri. He is not saying that I am taking the hadith of Mughira, but he is saying that this is what I found, or this is the saying of Zuhri. Now let us take the third opinion, which is just to do it upon the upper part. That is the opinion of all other Imams. So who are other Imams? If we have left Abu Malik, then Abu Hanifa, Shafi, Ahmad, they are the Jumhur, and then the other, like Thawri, like Dawood al-Zahiri, they got all this opinion that it should be done on the upper part only. And their evidence is the famous hadith of Ali, Sayyidina Ali. He said, لو كان الدين بالرأي لكان أسفل الخف أولى بالمسح من أعلاه. If there is something to do with the opinion in deen, and if deen was based upon opinion, personal opinion, then the bottom part deserves more to be wiped upon than the upper part. Because this is the irrational thing, that this part of your feet which is always touching the ground, that should be wiped, not the upper part. So Sayyidina Ali is saying that there is nothing to do with this opinion, got nothing to do with the deen. Deen is not based upon opinion, it is based upon Quran and Sunnah. So once Quran and Sunnah, there is an evidence in Quran and Sunnah, then just leave your opinion aside. And the other evidence is the other hadith of Al-Mughira. Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah, that he said, I saw the Prophet ﷺ wiping upon the upper part of the hoof of the leather socks. Just only upper part, not the bottom part. So this is what we can say about this chapter. Now let us move to the next chapter. Babu ma ja'a fi ru'af. '41. حدثني عن مالك النافع أن عبد الله بن عمر كان إذا رعف انصرف فتوضع ثم رجع فبنى ولم يتكلم. 42. عن مالك أنه بلغه أن عبد الله بن عباس كان يرعف فيخرج فيغسل الدم عنه ثم يرجع فيبني على ما قد صلى. 43. عن مالك أن يزيد بن عبد الله بن قصيت الليثي أنه رأى سعيد بن المسيب رعف وهو يصلي فأتى حجرة أم سلمة زوج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فأتي بوضوء فتوضأ ثم رجع فبنى على ما قد صلى. نعم. Translation.
Chapter. What was said in the nasal hemorrhage? Sheikh, why is ru'af? Because this is not clear.
No. Yes. Sometime suddenly the blood comes out of the nose.
Okay.
That is, he translated it as nasal.
Nasal hemorrhage.
Yes.
Okay.
This,
Nose bleed.
nose bleeding. All right. This is simple nose bleeding.
So what was said
In
regards
Urdu,
to...
in Urdu you say naksir.
Basically this chapter, what was said regards to nose bleeding. Yahya narrated from Maalik on the authority of Nafi' that Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu used to perform ablution when he had nose bleeding. Then he returns back to prayer and complete it without talking during that time. And Yahya narrated from Maalik that it reached him that Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma used to have nose bleeding. At that time he used to go out, wash the blood, and come back and complete his prayer, the part which he did not accomplish. And Yahya narrated from Maalik on the authority of Yazid ibn Abdullah ibn Qusayt al-Laythi rahimahullah that he saw Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib rahimahullah having a nose bleeding while he was praying. He came to the room of Salama radiallahu anha, the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He was brought water and he performed ablution. Then he returned back and completed the part of the prayer which he did not accomplish.
Now these three athar, the first asar is that of Abdullah ibn Umar, that if he got nose bleeding, insarafa fatawadda. Look at the word insarafa, he went back and he left the prayer. He went to the place where they do their ablution. Fatawadda, and he did his wudu. Because the word tawadda means, and if you take it as wudu, then it means wudu. But so that it can correspond with the other two asar, they say that the word tawadda sometimes it means only to wash. So actually he did not mean doing the whole wudu. He meant just to wash his nose. So he washed his nose. Thumma raja, then he came back, fabana, and then, now this, the word bana, that is also a term of hadith. And in hadith terminology, it comes again and again that the word bana. Bana means that he based upon the previous action. Just like the literal meaning. The literal meaning is to build. Bana means to build. So it means if you build upon something which has already been built. So you can say, ana banaytu fawqa al-asas. So here in hadith terminology it means to count what we have done before. So if you have done one rak'ah before, and then you went and you washed your nose, you came back, and you joined in the second rak'ah, so the first rak'ah is counted, and this is the second rak'ah which you are doing. So this what means bana. Summa raja fa bana. But there is one thing وَلَمْ يَتَكَلَّمْ. He did not speak. Now that is going to make difference. Allah, let us take the second asar. The second asar is that of Abdullah ibn Abbas. He used to have nose bleeding. He will come out, فَيَغْسِلُ الدَّمَ, and then he would wash the blood from him. So there is no word tawalla. Just yaghsil. He would wash the blood. ثُمَّ يَرْجِعُ فَيَبْنِي عَلَى مَا قَدْ. Then he will come back and he would build upon what he has already prayed. So this is bina as well. And he is counting what he has done before. Third asar is that of Sa'id ibn Musayyib. He got nose bleeding while he was praying. He came to the Hujra of Salama, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ. فَأُتِيَ بِوَضُوءٍ فَتَوَضَّعَ. He, and I have told you last time that what is the difference between wudu and wudu? Huh? What is the difference? Wudu?
Wudu is the water that's used.
Water for wudu. And wudu is?
Action. So,
the action itself. Wudu with dhamma and wa is the action. Wudu with fatha and wa is the water for wudu. So he brought some water. فَتَوَضَّعَ. He did his wudu, and as I said, it means that he washed his nose. ثُمَّ رَجَعَ فَبَنَى عَلَى مَا قَدْ صَلَّى. And then he did bina upon what he has already prayed. And he continued with what he has done. So these three asar. Now in these three asar, the first asar of Abdullah ibn Umar, that shows that if a person did not speak, then he can wash his nose, come back and start and continue with his prayer. What if he speaks? Huh? What if he speaks? Then he can't count. He can't count what he has prayed before. So it means that he has to start once again. He has to start afresh. He has to start his prayer afresh. That is one thing. And this is when we take the word tawalla in both the asar of Abdullah ibn Umar and the asar of Sa'id al-Musayyib. If we take it, meaning what? Tawalla? Ghasala. Just ghasala, wash. And it does not mean the real wudu, the whole wudu. He has not to repeat the whole wudu, because what Imam Malik wanted to prove here, that ru'af or nose bleeding does not break the wudu. Does not break the wudu. This is what he wanted to prove. It is not a hadas. Hadas is something which breaks your wudu, like passing the wind, like urine, like going to the toilet, like sleeping deeply. So all these things, they break the wudu. But ru'af or blood, nose bleeding does not break the wudu. Yes?
Sheikh, I mean, from this hadith, can we use bana'a to prove that this tawadda means that washing, not the ritual wudu? Wudu from Hadathul Aswad.
Yeah, yes. Again, no, but the other opinion which we are going to mention, the other opinion is that you do bina, you continue, but you have to do wudu, complete wudu. And they say, all right, because the word tawadda is mentioned here, so you have to do your complete wudu. But we are still on the first opinion, which means that you have just to wash your nose and start praying. So this condition that as long as he does not speak, that is the saying of whom in Sahaba? Which Sahabi is mentioned here? Abdullah ibn Umar. Abdullah ibn Umar. That is the hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar, which says وَلَمْ يَتَكَلَّمْ. And here it is attributed to Abdullah ibn Umar. But Ibn Abbas, of course, he shares that opinion as well here. And it is also narrated of Abu Bakr as well. And also to Zuhri. Except for Al-Hasan al-Basri. Hasan al-Basri is one of the companions. Tabi. Successor, yes, he is successor. Al-Hasan al-Basri is successor. Al-Hasan al-Basri, he got another condition. And that is ma'lam yastadbir. As long as he does not show his back to Qibla. Yastadbir. Also these are the hadith terminology. Yastaqbil, to face Qibla. Yastadbir, to show back to Qibla, because the word dubur is used for back. Showing the back to Qibla, that is called yastadbir. So he says, as long as he did not show his back to Qibla. So if he showed his back to Qibla, because in the prayer you should always be facing Qibla. So once in the prayer, you did not face Qibla and you are facing Qibla with your back, then it means that you are no more abiding by the condition of the prayer, so you have to start afresh. This is what you can't do bina. You can't do bina, you have to start afresh. This is why Imam Malik said, it is more beloved to me that this person should talk. This person should talk. So he should talk and then he start afresh. So there should be no ambiguity at all. This is what it means. No ambiguity at all. That is one opinion which we can take here. And here Imam Malik also added one thing. He says that if this person has already prayed one rak'ah, and he has done something substantial. If he has done one rak'ah, then he can do bina. And he has to count what he has done, and he can start with the second rak'ah. But if he has done less than one rak'ah, then what is going to happen? Yes, he will not count it, because, for example, he just started his prayer qiyam, and he has done his ruku. He did not do his sajda yet, and at that time nose started bleeding. So he can't count that part of the prayer. So at least one rak'ah should be completed. So if he has completed one rak'ah, then he can join once again after washing his nose and do bina. Now when we said that there are two opinions about this word tawadda. One opinion we have already taken. Tawadda means to ghasala. The second opinion is the opinion of Imam Abu Hanifa. Imam Abu Hanifa, that this word means, what does it mean? Wudu. That he has done wudu. So once a person got nose bleeding, he should do wudu. Not just washing the nose, he should do wudu. And then he can do bina, and he can continue what he has already prayed. But here there is another issue. Doing wudu means that he has broken his wudu. Doing wudu means that he has committed a hadas. Any hadas like breaking the wudu. Any hadas like urine, like passing the wind, like going to the toilet. So he has committed a hadas. So this implies that even if you have done a hadas, for example, if a person has passed wind in the prayer, he should break the prayer, go, he should do his wudu, come back, and then he continue. Continue with what, he should count what he has done before, according to the saying of Imam Abu Hanifa. Now there is another thing which is also very important. What about, because the nose bleeding, that is blood. What about other types of blood which are coming out of your injuries? Any injuries if you got. So any blood which come out of injuries, is it going to break your wudu or not? That is the other issue. any blood, let alone just say, if it is a very little blood, that blood which does not spill, which does not flow. Yes, just a, you can say, a spot of blood you see on your body, and you just try to wipe it with your finger. All say, except one tabi, all say, yes, that is not going to break wudu. There is no difference of opinion about that. Only one tabi, his name is Mujahid. Mujahid is known of tafsir. Mujahid and Ikrimah and Ibn Abbas is known of tafsir. Apart from Mujahid, all others say that small blood, a little blood is not going to break wudu. Now if the blood flows, then what is going to happen? So we have said that those people who say that even other bloods are just like nose bleeding, that you have to do wudu. Who said that you have to do wudu by nose bleeding among the Imams? Abu Hanifa. So Abu Hanifa would say that any blood is going to break the wudu. So this is why you have to do wudu after the blood comes out. And this saying is also attributed to Imam Ahmad, but Imam Ahmad normally he got two sayings. In each matter, two sayings. So you got one saying that he should do wudu, and the other saying is that if it is a lot of blood, then you should do it. But if it is little blood, you don't do it. So this is so there are here now, as far as the blood is concerned, the blood which is coming out of the two passages, two private passages. You understand? Two private passages. That blood, that is one thing. That according to all, that breaks the wudu. Any blood which comes out of two passages, front and the back, that is going to break. So those people who say that the blood does not break your wudu, and that is the opinion of Imam Shafi and Imam Ahmad in one saying. And they have taken the evidence. Which hadith? Do you remember any hadith?
When the warriors stand, the Sahabi is guarding the gates and he gets shot with an arrow.
Yes, the person who was guarding the camp of Sahaba, and Prophet ﷺ asked him to guard at night time, and he started praying, and then somebody shot an arrow to him, and he started bleeding, but still he continued his prayer. He got another shot, you see. More blood came out. And with the third shot he said that, I would be weak now, so I should wake someone else. But the main thing is that he kept on praying. And later, of course, this matter was reported to the Prophet ﷺ, and when the Prophet did not ask him to repeat his prayer, it means that it was valid, prayer was valid, and this is known as taqreer. Because the sunnah is three things. Sunnah, when you say sunnah, what is three things? The first is saying of the Prophet, qawl, and action of the Prophet, and taqreer of the Prophet, approval of the Prophet. So here is the approval of the Prophet ﷺ. That is one evidence. The second evidence, anybody remembers the second evidence? Case of Sayyidina Umar. Sayyidina Umar was stabbed in the night prayer, in Isha prayer, and later at Fajr time, and that hadith is going to come later in the next chapter. So anyhow, Sayyidina Umar prayed Fajr prayer while the blood was still coming out of his injuries. So this is why they say that blood does not break the wudu. What about, then you have to make an analogy in the case of hijama, cupping. Because in cupping you suck the blood. So what would be the saying? Those people who say that blood, if blood comes out from the body, apart from the two passages, does not break the wudu, then they say, hijama, cupping will not break your wudu. As far as fasting is concerned, don't mix up with the fasting. Fasting is a different thing. In fasting, does it break or not? Al-hijama, cupping. Does it break the fasting or not? Not? Is there any hadith for that? Aftar al-hajimu wal-mahdur. Aftar al-hajim wal-mahdur. The one who does cupping and to whom the cupping is done both do iftar. Both break their fasting. Because here, the fasting, there is something else in the fasting that by the blood coming out of your body, you start weakening. And this is not the objective of Sharia, to make you weaker by saying that you still got your fasting. No, you break your fasting. So you can eat, you can compensate for the blood which has come out. So let us take a summary of this issue, that as far as the blood is concerned, any blood coming out of the two passages, with the agreement of all the scholars, it breaks the wudu. So that is something settled. We don't worry about that. And now, what is the dalil for that? Dalil that anything which is coming out, any blood which is coming out of the two passages is going to break the wudu. Do you remember any hadith? Just think about the case of the woman.
Is it to do with menstruation?
Yes.
She menstruates and breaks the wudu.
But in menses she does not pray.
It's also, there's menses, there's postnatal bleeding, which is giving birth.
Yes.
And there's other time when when the menstruation goes past a period and the Prophet says no menstruation.
Yes. There are two types of menses. The real menses which are haid, and the menses which come after the men's period is over and still the woman is witnessing some blood coming out, which is known as istihada. Istihada, which is not the blood of menses, it is the real blood. And the Prophet ﷺ said to Habiba, said to other women who used to bleed a lot in this manner, that is, this blood is not blood of haid. It is just a vein, one of the vein, which has now producing that blood. So the Prophet has said to her, "Tawadda'i li kulli salatin." You have to do wudu for each prayer. For each prayer she has to do wudu. It means that in that case the blood breaks the wudu. So as far as this issue is concerned, there is no difference of opinion. Now comes the blood which comes out of the other parts of the body. Here we can say that as far as nose bleeding is concerned, nose bleeding, mostly, most of the ashar tends to say that it does not break the wudu. You have to just wash your nose and come back and start praying. Apart from Imam Hanifa who said, no, you have to do it. Now all other bloods which come out of the body because of an accident, because of injury, because of anything else, then we can say that there are two opinions. Opinion of Imam Hanifa, yes, you have to do wudu. Whether the blood is a little or more, you have to do wudu. And the opinion of Imam Shafi, that in the light of the hadith of Umar and the light of the hadith of that person who was shot with an arrow, that there is no need to do wudu.
Whose opinion is the second one? Whose opinion is the second one? Imam Malik?
Imam Shafi, no. Shafi and also Imam Malik as well. And one saying of Imam Ahmad. Now those people who say yes, in each type of blood you have to do wudu, they also take the hadith of istihada, the woman who was bleeding after the period of menses is over. And of course the other group would say, no, your evidence is not valid, because this evidence is only related to the blood coming out of the two passages. And we are concerned here about the blood coming from the body from other places, so you don't have any evidence. And it is reported of Ibn Umar that he got a small boil, they say the boil, and he punched it with his finger, and the blood came out, and he started wiping it like this, and that's all. He did not more than that. He did not do more than that, and he did not repeat his wudu. So this is Babu Majad fi Ru'af. Now the next chapter, Babu Al-Amal fi Ru'af. What was the action of the people of Medina? Just like the previous chapter, what was the action of the people of Medina in the previous matter? And in the very same way, here is the same thing. Asr 44. حدثني يحيى عن مالك عن عبد الرحمن بن حرملة الأسلمي أنه قال رأيت سعيد بن المسيب يرأف فيخرج منه الدم حتى تختضب أصابعه من الدم الذي يخرج من أنفه ثم يصلي ولا يتوضأ. أثر. وحدثني عن مالك بن عبد الرحمن بن المجبر أنه رأى سالم بن عبد الله يخرج من أنفه الدم حتى تختضب أصابعه ثم يفتره ثم يصلي ولا يتوضأ. نعم.
Chapter on what to do when nose bleeding occurs. Yahya narrated from Maalik on the authority of Abdurrahman ibn Harmala al-Aslami rahimahullah that he said, I saw Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib rahimahullah having the nose bleeding. The blood was getting out of his nose, that his fingers were reddened with the blood. Then he used to pray without performing ablution. And Yahya narrated from Maalik on the authority of Abdurrahman ibn al-Mujabbir that he saw Salim ibn Abdullah radiallahu an having nose bleeding until his fingers were reddened with blood. He used to rub the blood and pray without performing ablution.
Now here, we did not achieve anything new, because here there is the asar of Sa'id ibn Musayyib. Once he got the nose bleeding to such an extent that his fingers are smeared with blood. Summa yusalli wa la yatawadda. Very clear. He will pray and will not do wudu. The second asar is of Salim bin Abdullah. Who is Salim bin Abdullah? Who is Abdullah? Abdullah ibn Umar. Salim bin Abdullah, same thing, that his fingers are smeared with the blood. Summa yaftiruhu, and then he starts wiping like this, on the hand itself. Summa yusalli wa la yatawadda, and he prays without wudu. So this is the opinion which we have already mentioned. But why Imam Malik separated this chapter, Babu Al-Amal fi Ru'af, from the first one, Babu Ma Ja'a fi Ru'af, only to show that the blood is not a hadas. Blood is not a hadas. Hadas means anything which breaks your wudu. So it is not a hadas, because if it was a hadas, then little blood and excessive blood should be equal in the ruling. And when you go to the toilet for urine purposes, whether it is 1 drop of urine or 50 drops of urine, they are all equal, isn't it so? They are equal. And they break the wudu. In the very same way, if the blood is a hadas, then a little blood and excessive blood should be treated alike. And that is not the case. Here there is the case of Sa'id, and here is the case of Salim. Lot of blood has come out, and they did not do wudu. So that was the motive of Imam Malik to mention these two athar. Now the third chapter, Babu Al-Amal fi man ghalabahu ad-dam min jurhin aw ru'afin. That chapter is actually the one which speaks about excessive blood coming out of the body, because he had mentioned the case of Umar. And Hisham ibn Urwa عن أبيه أن المسور بن مخرمة أخبره أنه دخل على عمر بن الخطاب من الليلة التي طعن فيها فأيقظ عمر لصلاة الصبح فقال عمر نعم ولا حظ في الإسلام لمن ترك الصلاة فصلى عمر وجرحه يثعب دما. أثر 47. عن مالك يحيى بن سعيد أن سعيد بن المسيب قال ما ترون في من غلبه الدم من ضعاف فلم ينقطع عنه؟ قال مالك قال يحيى ثم قال سعيد أرى أن يومئ برأسه إيماء. قال يحيى قال مالك وذلك أحب ما سمعت إلي في ذلك. نعم.
Chapter, what is to be done when the blood continues to bleed of the wound or of the nose? Yahya narrated from Maalik on the authority of Hisham ibn Urwa from his father that Al-Miswar ibn Makhzama rahimahullah had told him that he came upon Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu an on the night he was stabbed. He awakened Umar radiallahu an for the morning prayer. Umar radiallahu an said, yes, and there is no share for that in Islam who abandoned the prayer. Then Umar radiallahu an prayed and his wound was flowing with blood. And Yahya narrated from Maalik on the authority of Yahya ibn Sa'id that Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib rahimahullah had said, what do you say about those about whose nose bleeding did not come to an end, i.e. flowed continuously? Maalik rahimahullah said, Yahya ibn Sa'id, then Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib said, I see that he has to incline his head. Yahya rahimahullah said, Maalik said, that is the most beloved thing to me concerning this matter.